Can you imagine a country in the middle of the desert that managed to overcome hunger and become a giant in fish production? Let's find out how Egypt made it happen. In 2021, the UN released an alarming report on the global hunger situation. After 5 years of relative stability, the year 2020 saw a disturbing shift, with a significant increase in food insecurity worldwide. According to the report, The State of Food Security and Nutrition in the World, prepared by 5 UN agencies, around 811 million people faced hunger in 2020, an increase of approximately 161 million compared to 2019. The African continent remains the most affected by hunger. However, surprisingly, Egypt rarely appears in headlines within this alarming context. In November 2021, Egypt's Minister of Agriculture announced that the country achieved self-sufficiency in fish production, ranking first in aquaculture in Africa and sixth globally. But how was this feat made possible? Egypt, the largest fish producer in Africa, embarked decades ago on a visionary project to diversify its food sources. Aware of climate change and the impact of human activities, authorities noticed that the flow of the Nile River was decreasing, and rising pollution levels threatened the water supply, critical for approximately 80% of the country's needs, including agriculture and livestock. Over the years, the growing population increased the demand for food, leading the country to rely more on chemical fertilizers, depleting soil and reducing pasture areas. In response, the Egyptian government launched an ambitious campaign to develop the fishing industry, promoting sustainable protein sources for its population. This effort began in the 1970s with a strategic plan to accelerate fish industry development. By the mid-1980s, annual fish production had increased from 17,000 to 48,000 tons. During this period, 4 fish hatcheries, 6 production tanks, and 5 juvenile fish reservoirs were built. In a short time, Egypt managed to diversify its food sources and create thousands of jobs in the fishing sector. Many of these opportunities benefited the poorest, who now had access to affordable protein, establishing farmed fish as one of the main protein sources for the population. Despite these advances, challenges continued to grow. Over the last 40 years, Egypt's population more than doubled, and fish production was still insufficient to fully meet domestic demand. In 2017, aiming to achieve self-sufficiency and even consider future exports, the Egyptian government launched the Al-Fayrouz project. This monumental endeavor seeks to build the largest large-scale fish production complex on the continent. Given the complexity, the project was divided into 2 phases. In the first, the government chose a strategic location 10 kilometers east of Port Said, a crucial point that facilitates access to the Suez Canal and allows rapid connections between Europe and Asia. After choosing the location, the next step involved a rigorous preparatory process, with detailed studies of the area, soil and rock analyses, and water level measurements. The project includes the construction of 700 artificial lakes covering over 8,000 hectares, as well as tanks measuring up to 9,600 square meters designed to accommodate fishing vessels over 30 meters in length. To install the artificial reservoirs, about 500,000 cubic meters of earth were excavated, along with almost 1.5 million cubic meters of backfill material. The complex also has artificial shores stretching more than 100 kilometers, with concrete surfaces totaling around 7,000 square meters, built to ensure the necessary infrastructure for the aquatic ecosystem. With these efforts, Egypt aims not only to ensure its self-sufficiency in fish production but also to strengthen food security and boost its economy, demonstrating how innovation and strategic planning can turn challenges into opportunities. To achieve self-sufficiency and operational autonomy, Egypt needed to build a complex of auxiliary structures that complement the fish reservoirs. In addition to cultivation tanks, facilities were established for fish processing, ice and feed production, packaging areas, and state-of-the-art veterinary and incubation laboratories, all integrated into the complex. The technologies applied in the construction of the reservoirs and supply channels were innovative, highlighting the use of synthetic materials as a lining at the bottom of the tanks. Layers of geotextiles and low-permeability chemical membranes were applied between compressed sand and concrete, allowing for constant water retention in the channels and tanks, while acting as a barrier against contamination from underground water. With a forecast to generate over 10,000 jobs for specialists across various fields, the socio-economic impact of this project is significant. In the long term, it contributes to the Egyptian government's plan to ensure high-quality protein for the entire population by 2030, while also enabling the export of fish to Middle Eastern and European markets. This project has transformed Egypt into the largest fish producer in Africa, establishing it as self-sufficient and a potential exporter within the region. The importance of this endeavor extends beyond fish production. It helps reduce conflicts with neighboring countries, as many fishermen no longer need to embark on lengthy ocean journeys, which had previously been necessary due to overfishing and declining fish populations along African coasts. This project demonstrates how the use of innovative technologies in infrastructure development can transform resource availability and bring food security to millions of people. Looking forward, this megastructure stands as an example for other nations seeking to sustainably develop their food supply chains, reinforcing Egypt's role as a leader in aquaculture and ensuring a future with more economic opportunities for the country.